Shalom, everyone. We are in a very special interview here in Jerusalem, thanks to our friends at the Friends of Zion Museum that allowed us to use this amazing facility. And let you guys introduce yourselves.
Taigwe, Daka Kasika Mahura, Naboria, Takatais, Borika, and Arawaka Taíno. Good day, my name is Chief Joseph Riverwind. I'm of the Arawak Taíno tribe of Puerto Rico. Thank you for having us here.
Shio ganitila yelene ekwani unole dakodoa jijala giganuseda. Hello, my name is Dr. Laralyn Riverwind, and I'm the ambassador of the Georgia Tribe of Eastern Cherokee.
That's absolutely amazing. You know, because the connection between Jews to this land dates back thousands of years. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and it's just amazing to sit with indigenous people here in the capital of Israel and to talk about exactly that. The enemies of Israel are trying to separate the connection between Jews to the land of Israel. What is your response to that?
Well, in Native history, you see the same thing that has happened, where oftentimes colonial or conquistador power would come in, and the first thing they do is they would change our names to remove that title to the land of our ancestors. And oftentimes, many of the tribes have been removed from our ancestral homelands, displaced to other places where they weren't welcomed or known. But yet, the story of the Jewish people returning to their ancestral homeland, returning to your sacred places, many of our tribes will never be able to have that. Our sacred places are destroyed, or they're gone, or they're underwater, or it's just impossible that we'll ever regain that back. So your story is a story of hope for many First Nations people, and we've actually seen that as goes Israel, goes the world. And with this story of your return to your ancestral homeland, we're also slowly starting to see back home tribes getting land back, and resources back, and things back that once we thought was impossible. So.
We also see that you have cousins and brothers who came from Abraham also. However, the title of the land, the deed of the land, was passed down very clearly from Abraham to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, whose name was also Israel. And so our people also have cousin tribes that sometimes push against each other in borders many years ago. But the land of Israel was given to the man named Israel, and the Jewish people of Judea have a title that goes back thousands of years and is written in the sacred book that has been passed to many people throughout the world. So it is a very public record that anybody can examine.
And everybody's indigenous to somewhere. Everybody has an indigenous homeland. Why is it that the Jewish people cannot have their indigenous homeland that's literally written in the ground? It's the earth itself is coming up with all sorts of historical artifacts and things that prove the indigeneity of the Jewish people to here. So to hear people calling your people colonizers or settlers of your own homeland, I can't wrap my mind around it.
Part of the definition of indigeneity is that a people group was birthed in that land. And what ties all of the Jewish people back, when you go far enough back in the history of the Jewish people, is the land being in Jerusalem, in Israel, in Jerusalem, in Judea and Samaria. And when you see that connection, Jewish people all around the world who've been scattered to different nations tie back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob being here in the land.
And just because the pagan Roman conquistadors came and changed Judea to Palestine, Syria, Palestina, that doesn't negate your indigenous claim to the land at all. That was their policy. And anyone claiming to be a descendant of Philistines, well, they would be Greeks. Because the Philistines were Greek mariners. They weren't Arabs, they weren't Middle Easterners, they were from the Greek Isles.
Yeah, a lot of people actually say that Palestinians are the descendants of the Philistines in the Bible, and trying to kind of steal, build their identity on the Philistines' identity. But the Philistines, as we know, they have nothing to do with modern-day Palestinians. The modern-day Palestinians have came to the land of Israel from neighboring countries, and you can very easily prove that with their family names. Indigenous people around the world oftentimes don't need to prove their indigeneity or to prove where they're coming from, but the story is very different with Jewish people. We're oftentimes questioned, even though we have a history dating back, more than 3,000 years. Why only the Jews need to prove that they're indigenous to the land of Israel?
Let me encourage you, as a mixed blood, I understand the need to have to prove indigeneity. And the Jewish people, because you've been scattered throughout the diaspora, throughout the world, among the nations, you have a mixed heritage. Once somebody's heritage is mixed, there is a complicating factor. And so people would like to just draw the line back to whatever other thing you're mixed with. For example, the Sephardic. They'll say, oh, well, the Sephardic Jewish people are from Spain. But yes, that may be where Sephardic Jewish people can be traced to. But if you go back farther to the Jewish part, before they were mixed in with the Spanish part, you can see the heritage connected to the land of the Jews. And so I understand having mixed heritage. And it's about where you identify. Your culture is still rich, despite the fact that you've been pushed out of the land of Israel by conquerors. And so this is why you have a challenge of being able to show your tie and have people be able to understand the deepest connection to you and your land. And my question is always, when people say, oh, the Jewish people are not the indigenous people of Israel, I say to them, well, then where are they indigenous to? Where can you point to that all of the Jewish people have in common? Their culture, their nation, their language was birthed here in the Holy Land.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say to many people watching, they're saying that it's very weird and crazy that indigenous people from the Americas are sitting next to what they are calling colonizer, occupier, war criminal. What else? They have a whole bunch of exactly. So, but I think, as you would agree with me, that it's only natural that indigenous people sitting together, representing tribes. Jews are indigenous to the land of Israel, you're indigenous to your land. So I just think that it's beautiful that we're able to sit in the capital of Israel and to discuss this. That leads me to my third question that I wanted to ask you. You said in the opening ceremony of the embassy that Israel is your elder brother. What did you mean by that?
Well, we have, this is a term that our elders have spoken and have come up with. You know, many tribes from our part of the country are called First Nations, and we consider the people of Israel the first fruit nation, the elder brother, the elder tribe. And there's a deep, long-standing connection between our people, and there's a deep respect. And also, we see the effect of the land when you've returned to it. And this is something that indigenous people absolutely understand, that when you have been returned to your homeland, the land responds, whether it's with the fruits. It's just incredible. Look at Israel now, ever since you've come home. The deserts are blooming. You know, all the prophecies of your medicine people and holy people are coming to pass in our generations before us. So we see that term, elder brother, as a term of respect, and also an acknowledgement of the covenant that the Creator made with your people and your tribes.
And I like also what another chief said in the ceremony. He said, if the Israelites, if the Jewish people are not indigenous to the land of Israel, then there are no indigenous people in this world.
Yes, and I think it's very, very, so vital that happened to be one of the high chiefs and kings of the Khoi people of South Africa.
Exactly.
You know, and he made it a very clear statement that, you know, he represents 2.5 million indigenous South Africans who did not agree with South Africa's proclamation of genocide against Israel. So I thought that was one of those beautiful moments at the embassy.
And lastly, what is something special about your tribe?
Well, you tell them yours and I'll tell them mine.
in the 1700s, there was a historian named James Adair who came and began to investigate my people and made 26 different arguments about the similarities between the Cherokee people and the Jewish people. My people celebrated a seventh day of rest, and we carried an ark into battle. We had a family of priests that were the holy people. It was forbidden to eat swine and was punishable by death if you did. There were many there were 7 different feasts throughout the year, one of which people who had been exiled would be allowed to return into the community. Another that was a harvest ceremony of thanks. And so we also carried a name for Creator that uses the same letters that are passed down in Judaism. And so we believe that we are worshiping. I can't speak for everybody, and I don't speak for everybody in our tribe or among the Cherokee people, but to me, there is a preponderance of evidence that would lead me to believe that we are praying to the same Creator who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And this is the reason why there are many of our people who accepted the Bible when it came to us.
Wow.
And with my people, I would say it began November 19th, 1493. That's when we discovered Columbus, and he landed on our island in Boriken, Puerto Rico. But this was his second voyage, and in that second voyage, it wasn't just Columbus, but there was also Sephardic Jews who were fleeing the Spanish Inquisition. And they came on those ships, they landed on our island, and when they witnessed the atrocities that the Spanish conquistadors were doing to my people, to the Taíno people, they thought to themselves, this is the same thing we just came out of. This is what we were just fleeing from in Spain. And many B'nai Anusim, or crypto Jews as they're known, actually went into the mountains, and my tribe was the first tribe to give refuge to fleeing Sephardic Jews from the Spanish Inquisition. So you know, I'm not talking lost tribe stuff here, we're talking 1500s. And from that time on, there are many of people in my tribe that are Taíno, indigenous, and we also have Sephardic Jewish heritage. So there's a link and a tie with these two tribes. And also, you know, Creator has perfect timing. The embassy opened right when the Parsha was about Moses meeting Yethro. You know, 2 chiefs of 2 tribes coming together, and there's a cultural exchange. There's exchange of knowledge and skills, and it was a beautiful thing. And then the Torah was given shortly after that. So
that's absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for everything that you do. Thank you for speaking the truth, and may we see peace in our land. So from Jerusalem to the nations, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hananya. We love your work. Yeah.